Thanks for joining us for Season 5 of the Hospitality Hangout, a hospitality-focused podcast where the founders at Branded Strategic share their insights and bring technology and innovation leaders that are making things happen in the industry we love. My name is Jimmy Frischling, otherwise known as the Finance Guy, and I'd like to introduce my partner, my brother from another mother, Mr. Michael Schatzberg, also known as the Restaurant Guy.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for that kind introduction. And to all those listening, feel free to call me Shatsy. Together, we are the personalities behind Branded Strategic Hospitality. We work at the intersection of hospitality, technology, innovation, and capital. Before we jump into it, because I got a great show and a great guest today, I just wanted to mention something, Jimmy. I don't think I've ever mentioned this on the podcast before. Jimmy, are you familiar with the Branded Marketplace at all?
Well, that sounds interesting. Please tell me more.
Yeah, well, listen, Jimmy, for operators out there listening and people that have tech and innovation, if you're listening, you got to go check out the Branded Marketplace. Go to thebrandedmarketplace.com. We are connecting hospitality owners and operators with the latest and greatest solutions to solve their biggest problems in technology and innovation within our space. So if you have problems, and we all do, Jimmy, you have more than I, but we can't talk about that today and now. But let me tell you something. Go check out thebrandedmarketplace.com. You will find hundreds of solutions. I am happy to announce that we are over 200 of the greatest companies on earth are on the marketplace. If you want to get on the marketplace, email me at marketplace@brandedstrategic.com and we will get you onboarded. Jimmy, by the way, do you know how much it costs to be on the marketplace?
I do not know the price of that.
Jimmy, you should. Well, I mean, you're a partner in the marketplace. It's zero, Jimmy.
It's zero.
And you are a founding partner of a company that it costs zero to be on the marketplace. It costs zero to use the marketplace. So we are making a lot of something, but we're not making any money. But we're having a good time with the marketplace, Jimmy.
I was going to ask you, Shatsy, how do we make money off this thing?
Jimmy, volume. Make it up in volume, Jimmy. Yes. All right, take it away, Jimmy. I've said enough.
Yes, you have. All right, that shameless self-promotion was sponsored by our friends at Chico's Bail Bonds. Let freedom ring. Okay, thanks, Chico. Listen, before we start, we do have a very exciting offer that we're going to share at the end of the show, and it's for all operators listening. So please make sure you stick around to the end, and you'll hear this incredible opportunity we'll be announcing when we bring this episode to a close. Okay, very excited for today's episode. Our guest is Mr. Chris Campbell, CEO and founder of Review Trackers, a company that Branded and its restaurants have used for quite some time. Chris, we always like our guests to take the lead. Please give us a little background on yourself and, of course, Review Trackers.
I got to ask how old he is because he looks maybe 15, 16.
I'm in my late 30s, as my wife likes to say. But, well, first let me say thank you, Jimmy and Chatsy, for having me on. I am excited to be on your podcast and share a little bit of the story of Review Trackers.
You say that now. Wait till the end. You're not going to be so excited.
I guess we'll see. Review Trackers is a company I founded about 10 years ago that helps today over 50,000 restaurants in 35 countries track and manage their customer feedback from websites like Google, Facebook, and TripAdvisor.
I got to tell you, see, Jimmy,
50,
and Jimmy, you notice the intro? You notice the intro was 4 to 5 seconds long? That's what I call an intro.
It was 10% of your shameless Branded Marketplace self-promotion. That's what I tell you, 10%.
Well, Chris, I appreciate that quick intro. We like that. Gives Jimmy a little bit more time to talk on this podcast episode. So we appreciate that. Listen, before we get into it, and because you are doing some amazing work, and I am happy to say that over here at Branded in our restaurants, we have been a customer, I believe, pretty much as long as you've been around. And we love what you do. But listen, there's more to Review Trackers than just Review Trackers. There's also what makes Chris tick. Who is Chris Campbell? How did he come up with this idea? Where did you start? Tell us, how did he come up with this idea for Review Trackers? Give us a little background of you.
Sure. Well, first, I'm a Scorpio. So in case you're wondering.
Excellent. Jimmy loves Scorpios. I'm an Aquarian,
absolutely. Jimmy. Pisces.
No, I'm sure you guys mean more in the business, but it's that classic journey of how many businesses start. I was trying to solve my own problem. Now about 12-ish years.
What problem are you trying to solve?
Well, I'll tell you. I was consulting for a large chain, and they wanted to manage their online reviews. They were just getting pummeled online. They were like, a lot of customers are giving feedback, and 10, 12 years ago, think about just time horizon. The iPad had just come out. The App Store was a new thing, invention. reviews aren't what they are today, where like, consumers check them before they enter a business. But
Mm-hmm.
so anyway, we tried using I had a marketing consulting company. We were using a few different tools, and basically they were all not very good, to put it politely. And you can kind of skip to the end and kind of guess what happens in the story. But I just became really frustrated. We were doing a lot of things manually that I thought software should do, and just really thought there was a better way. And that's how like review trackers got started.
That's incredible. Do you have a tech background, or you just solved this yourself?
So I guess I would say I'm more of a marketer by trade, but do have a tech background, like in the marketing agency days, like building a lot of websites and apps for people and things like that. But started to work on the company, and there's a long, windy story of how it all came together. But I thought one of the fun things to share with today was I was reflecting on our first customer was Sugar Mountain. And I don't know if you know those guys, but they have the concept like Beecher's Cheese, which is in Seattle and New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember it like it was yesterday. The guy's name was Matt, and he goes like, "Let's do this." And they signed up at the time. It was 9 restaurant concepts, and I'm proud to say they're still a customer today. So it's just kind of crazy to think about like the evolution over many, many years.
Are they paying though, Chris? You could.
Oh yeah, they're paying. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And the product wasn't very good at that point. It was still pretty buggy. Now, like it's like pretty awesome, but it was a long journey, and they were patient with us through it. So.
Love it, love it, love it. All right, I want to jump in here. There are many guests and customers who will not step foot in a restaurant without reading reviews. Okay, it's become that important to the guest. Meanwhile, there are quite a few restaurant operators who take the position that reviews and reviewers are, how do I say this politely, almost the bane of their effing existence. They hate it. So we got a little bit of issue with the rubber meets the road here, but it could not be more important. From Brandon's perspective, we believe reviews are important, and we believe operators need to respond to reviews and engage with their customers. So my question, Chris, what would you say to an operator who doesn't pay attention to their reviews?
You're an idiot. That wasn't Chris. That was me. That was me, Jimmy. That was me. That wasn't Chris.
But just like you said, like to an operator, I would say that you're crazy. You think about things that can influence your business and have like major ripple effects. Reviews is one of the biggest things. And so I'll kind of share this story. One of the favorite stories I like explaining, like there's all sorts of stats of like why you should respond to reviews, how customers won't even enter your business if you have negative ratings. They're looking how you respond. I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to go with a personal story because I think that's the best way to encompass this, my experience. But so I'm driving with my mom. She's in her 60s. I'm like, hey, we're going to go to this restaurant. While I'm driving the car, she's like, hey, do we have to go there? I'm like, why? Is it like, are you scared to try something new? Like, And she goes, I looked it up. It's got a 3.5. I'm like, ooh. I've been there. It's good. You're going to like it. Maybe they're a little rough around the edges or whatever, but I promise it's good. And she's like, but can we go somewhere else? Like the rating's not that high.
Yeah. What's your mom's minimum? It's got to be a 4.0.
I don't know what her threshold is, but I look at it as like she's the last adopter of anything in the world, let alone anything in tech. And if she's reading reviews and deciding where to spend her hard-earned dollars to have dinner with her son, like that to me is like the epitome. And she's not alone. 91% of people trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. And in this case, my mom trusted the online reviews more than her son's own personal recommendation. And I just think that's like,
I could see that.
Like the consumer behavior is changing so quickly.
Yeah, listen, as I said earlier, here in our restaurants here in New York City, we've been a customer review trackers for a long time. We bought into it early on. Our marketing team, literally, like you just said, how you came up with the idea. We were spending hours going on to all the different sites, and there's so many. There's TripAdvisor today, there's Yelp today, there's OpenTable today. There's Resy. There's so many different. There's Google. There's so many places that our reviews are tucked away, and you can't find them. There's so many of them, and it takes so much time to go and find all the different sites. Then you got to find all the reviews and respond to them all. So what we loved about review trackers, I don't want to talk all about just plugging review trackers, which we think it's great. I'm not just saying this because you're on, but it aggregates all of the reviews in one spot. and you can respond and communicate right there. So it's really easy. I think an interesting stat that you and I talked about earlier was that customers are seeing up to a 15% lift in revenue when they're using a platform, when they're engaging with review trackers or those type of platforms with customers and responding to customers and things like that, and giving them kind of a voice and letting them know they'd be heard. So I think that's really interesting. Can you share a little bit more about some more success stories that you've seen or heard from your customers?
Absolutely. But first, I haven't said this yet, but thank you so much for both of you guys being loyal customers. Your support has really helped us build those new features.
Can we get a discount, by the way? I'm sorry for it. Can we get a discount?
I'll see what your next renewal is. But
there we go.
But seriously, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. You guys are what make our company possible.
It's a great product, and by the way, it's not very expensive. You didn't hear that from me, Chris.
There's lots of stories. So it's funny. We've done a couple studies with we'll call it PhDs and that type of stuff, like some sort of university research arm. And every time we find the restaurant chain that I mentioned was like an 8% lift, and it was a burger chain in the Carolinas. But after they saw the data, they were like, we can't publish this because we don't want our competitors seeing this. But they did a test where it was like 50% of the locations used our platform, 50% didn't, and literally equated roughly to it was almost a 15% lift and increase, because it was like another, I forget what the exact number was, but it was like 7 customers a day. They could literally see the average in more sales equated to them just listening, engaging, and using the platform, which is wild. And they're not alone. We've seen this with other franchise groups have similar data. So these groups are trying to just get the GM on there, get the people active, because just listening, interpreting the feedback, and asking for reviews gets that flywheel going. And it's one of the easiest things you can do. I was literally at a restaurant.
So easy. Yep.
It doesn't need to be complex. I was at a restaurant the other night. At the end of the meal, the server goes, "Hey, thank you so much for dining with us. We really appreciate it." And they just give us a little piece of paper. It says if you wouldn't mind, scan this QR code and leave us a review. And as I'm watching, literally table after table, getting the check, having a good experience, and them writing reviews literally at the table. And I'm just it's not rocket science here. It's just that simple ask sometimes can do it. But if we think of other great win stories, I think one of my favorite things to see a lift in is just customers that automate the process of asking for reviews. It can be scary. Sometimes it's a little bit of work to automate, depending on what your CRM or in-house tool is. But basically, you've seen customers 10x the volume of reviews that they get. And I just think that's insane results, because when you get 10x more reviews, it leads to being found in more search results when people are searching for whatever they're trying to, burger versus pizza, etc. It's leading to getting you found more often, which means more butts and seats, more covers, and more turns of those tables. And that's what impacts the bottom line, because that's how people make decisions. It's how they decide where they're gonna, dine that evening.
Yeah, people want to be heard today, man. Everyone's a critic out there.
I appreciate all that, but I'm still stuck on the fact that Shatsy was dropping numbers and data on 8 to 15% lift in revenue.
I don't know what the hell I was talking about, Jimmy. By the way, I had no idea what I was talking about. I apologize.
I don't even know you anymore. You're stepping in the I don't even know you. You're stepping into my lane.
And I saw that funny sign next to the 15. It looked like a percentage sign. I'm not exactly sure what that was.
You got it right.
No, you're right. That we've seen many customers see ranges in that. There's data that says it even impacts you more than that, but the people that quantify it, that's usually the range that we get.
All right, listen, I don't think it's possible for us to talk about reviews without talking about the 800-pound gorilla in the space, which is Yelp. They say a lot, but they say for every star earned on Yelp, companies increase their income by 5 to 9%. Now, according to Alexa, Yelp is the 60th most visited website in the U.S. See, Shatsy, that's me, finance guy, dropping digits, dropping numbers. 60th most visited website in the U.S. But with the increase in Google and Facebook, gaining traction in the review world, well, I guess my question is are Google and Facebook gaining traction, and where are the majority of reviews coming from today, according to review trackers?
Yeah, so I would say they're no longer the 800-pound gorilla. they've really diminished.
How many pounds would you say they are these days?
Maybe 100, maybe 100. No, I don't know.
100 pounds.
I gained the difference.
Yeah. Jimmy got what Yelp lost. Jimmy got.
But even that stat that they rattle off of every star is 5 to 9%. I mean, at this point is several years old. And to be honest, like if we look at the trend line of what's happening, basically, I mean, depends on the market you're in. Like, so in this example, like Yelp is still more prevalent in maybe San Francisco, for example, versus other markets, but because that's where they're based. But the reality is Google's winning. They're getting crushed by all their competitors by whatever metric you want to look at, whether it's traffic, number of reviews, engaged users. And yes, they have different metrics of how they measure it. But the reality is we, in our own data, like how consumers rank them in importance and how restaurants, in this example, also rank them in importance. In the last 5 years, they went from number 1 to number 5. And like,
wow.
Like I said, Google, Facebook, TripAdvisor are all just growing multiples faster than they are. And I think it's becoming less and less important. And they're, call it stranglehold on this industry. They're still relevant. They're still important, but less important. Like the reality is 95% of people start their search on Google. And what shows up there, it's Google reviews is the first thing they're reading.
Well, I think it's really, really interesting. And we touched on it. And let's get into it a little bit more because, we talked about how operators, maybe they don't want to look at the reviews. They ignore the reviews. Maybe they don't want to deal with bad reviews or whatever. And maybe that's not really interesting to them. But I think what is interesting you brought up is, look, operators are all interested in increasing revenue at the end of the day. And you brought up an interesting a concept. You said that having more reviews and engaging reviews helps your SEO. And with Google being so important today, and you just said that everybody, uses Google to search. I don't have to tell you, it's obvious. But your SEO ranking. So now that is really, now you're talking about sales, right? Because if you got a higher SEO, better SEO, higher rankings, now people find you quicker. And maybe that could lead to decision making. So I'm going to choose this restaurant over that restaurant because of where they find you on the Google search. So can you give us a little bit of understanding? How do reviews and responding reviews, how does that help SEO?
Yeah. So if you look at all the research done by marketers, basically all the experts agree at this point, reviews are the leading factor in influencing how you appear, like on that Google local mapping ranking. And yes, there's other things obviously that influences, but the reality is reviews are the thing that influence it the most. So when someone's searching restaurants near me or maybe a specific category of pizza or Italian or steakhouse, the reviews are what drive that. It's, the comments and
wow.
Right. So
see, that's really interesting.
Yeah. So actually, and I should turn this on for you guys, but we just launched a new beta tool to actually measure this and show your rankings on the map. So you can see how you're performing, like in the couple miles around each restaurant, and see, hey, when people are searching pizza or barbecue or hamburger near me, we can see and like measure. So like as you're getting more reviews, you can literally, so if you run a campaign and you're like, oh, great, we just got 100 new reviews because everybody this week we said, hey, please leave us a review. We'd really appreciate it. And literally you can see the lift in rankings happen. So it's really powerful.
Jimmy, that's really interesting.
I think it's really interesting. I love that new feature that's coming out, and look forward to hearing how it works in beta.
So you want me to? So Jimmy, we can continue with this kind of conversation because I think it's really interesting, and even more. So more and more guests are turning to the internet for not just looking up for reviews, but also to make reservations and exploration for reservations, right? So what advice do you have for restaurant operators who don't have, we already talked about how important reviews are. It helps in your SEO. That's where people are going, Google, et cetera. What advice do you have for an operator who don't have a review tracking system in place?
Well,
is it just, go to reviewtrackers.com right now? Is that the obvious?
Tell him Shatsy sent you.
Put in code Shatsy and get 20% off right now, 1 month free. I like that.
And pay 20% more.
Yes, they can absolutely do that. But the reality is you can start much simpler than that. Like just start by reading the feedback and seeing if you can interpret it and process it and seeing how it can make your business better. If everyone says your chicken sandwich, isn't very good, consider changing the recipe. If your top server keeps getting mentioned, give them accolades, like make them feel special. Like that's the difference in how a restaurant is able to continue to excel or flounder. And like I think that's a great
I
thing.
think that's a really good point. We used to have like a little thing going on. Every time the server, if you were mentioned positively in a review, I think we gave you like $5 or something like that, and that encouraged servers to get more reviews, and it encouraged servers to try and prompt the guest to write a positive review. But it's all good because if positive reviews are good for the business, more reviews we already said are good for the business. So it was a really great ecosystem. So I think that's a great point. There's a lot here.
Yeah.
And don't forget, $5 for the server.
And $5 for the server. Well, today it wouldn't be 5. Today it's like 15.
Yeah, 15. All right. Listen, Chris, Schatz and I started this podcast because we love bringing on guests and getting asked the questions. But we learned along the way that sometimes our guests have a question for us. So our illustrious producers created a segment called Talking Back. We give the guest the opportunity to take the mic and ask us a question, and nothing is off the table. So, Chris, microphone's yours, sir.
And it's a family podcast, so keep it clean, Chris.
Keep it classy, San Diego.
As a business owner, just like you guys, I've been thinking about and I'm sure you guys are thinking about, what are the long-term implications of COVID? I feel like going on to before we hit Delta, and I'm not trying to get this, not a political thing, of just going like, it seems like we were starting to get back to normal, but now things are starting to slow down a little bit. And I think a lot of people, including myself, are going like, is this just the new normal? It's like the flu season or some version of that. And I'm not trying to imply how long or whatever it goes, but it seems like it's going to be here for the foreseeable future. How do you guys adapt your restaurants? Like, how do you plan for the next 3 to 5 years? Like, I'm just kind of curious on your thought process. And
that's an excellent question. The reason why I love it so much is it's clearly directed to the restaurant guy.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I mean, I feel like one thing we learned, I think restaurant operators are generally, there's a lot of creativity. And I think we have had to jump through so many hoops, just not during the pandemic, but generally as business owners, that we are on the ground floor, you're on the retail level outside. We have been hit with so many different adversities over the years, whether it be legislation with different, health, inspections in the windows and so many rules. I think we've been able to, we're always very flexible, nimble. We adapt quickly. I think you saw it here in the pandemic. Restaurant operators quickly in New York adapted to this outdoor dining, building these incredible structures. So I think we are a very adaptable industry, and I think we can figure out. It's incredible. I think most operators figure out how to make things work, and it's really kind of cool to see because I think you have a lot of entrepreneurs in the business. Like I said, a lot of creative people in the business. So I think we've been adapting for years, just as part of our industry. And I think we continue to do so. So this is just another piece of that that we have to kind of figure out how to work. But changes have been happening to our industry long before the pandemic. We always talk about how the footprint has changed because off-prem has grown so much. So we've been changing. The size of restaurants have changed. Having a door for takeout and delivery as opposed to maybe the entrance of where customers come in. So many things have been changing, and this is just another piece of that puzzle, and we'll continue to change and adapt. So I don't know what I hope that this is just like you said. Maybe it's just like a flu season kind of thing, and we just learn to live with it. And I hope everyone just goes out there and gets vaccinated, and we get back. I mean, I feel like in New York we've been really. It seems like every day we're getting back to more and more and more normalcy, whatever that normalcy is. But it seems like people are, I was in our restaurants last night. They're busy. People are having a good time. So I'm excited about the future, and I think that we have a very bright future ahead, and I'm excited about it. So I hope that answers your question without getting political at all, Jimmy and Chris.
Yeah, well, Shatsy, I thought it was an excellent answer.
Oh,
I mean, it was a verbose
Jimmy's using
answer,
verbose with me.
but it was still a very good. Yes, I am. The only thing I'll add, because I think Shatsy did nail it. He highlighted about the agility of our industry. What I would highlight is we've been thinking about the importance of optionality, and really how the pandemic has really kind of brought technology to the forefront to now deliver on the, I guess, the multifaceted, guest experience that's desired, and just how fragmented we are. So the fact is, we are now, I think, we were caught a little off guard. I mean, over 50% of restaurants weren't even online for delivery, and they had to get there. Now that we're dealing with the second wave, or whatever wave we're up to of the virus, the fact is, I think the industry is prepared more today with again, leveraging tech in a way in which we can now, I think, respond to just the changing landscape. So anyway, I think it is a very good question, and I think optionality is going to prove to be what separates the winners from the losers in this space.
Again, Jim, you always answer the question better than me. Damn it!
Well, that's why
optionality. Why did I say optionality?
And agility. I took your
and agility. My vocabulary is mostly comprised of 2, 3, and 4 letter words, Jim.
I think you speak good. You really do speak good English.
I speak fines.
You speak very good English. Go ahead, Shatsy.
Listen, let's talk tech. Jimmy, you talk a little tech. Let's talk tech. Chris, you're a semi-tech person. You're a marketer, a tech guy. You look like you're 15, so you really know about technology. Listen, if you had to give an operator out there in the restaurant space, because look, 50,000 restaurants, that's a big part of your business. I know you've got other verticals, but that's a big part of your business. If you have to give an operator today a recommendation, a suggestion about technology, other than review trackers, what recommendation would you have for an operator that he must have on his tech stack in his restaurant right now, outside of, obviously, everyone needs review trackers? Is there something else you think they got to have?
So, yeah, I mean, there's so much cool technology, and the innovation that's happened in this industry just in the last couple of years has been mind-blowing to me. But I think there's a couple apps that are like technology that stick out to me. I'm like, this is really cool. So like, I think of it from the consumer side.
Sure.
Like there's a lot of restaurants near me that use Toast as their POS, and just like so seamless, where I can like order, like you have one account, it remembers your credit card, like you can get from all the restaurants. They're not exorbitantly charging the restaurant fees. It's like they're saving 20% from ordering from, XYZ delivery company instead. And, in store, it just works. Like the POS isn't going down, and like it syncs the menus. From a consumer, I'm just like, this just works. And like, there's so many things in technology that don't. And I don't, at least it's my experience. And
I think it's a great one, because I got to tell you, we have I feel like we're plugging Toast here, like Toast Investors or something, but we use Toast as a POS, and I got to tell you, the QR code prints out on the check, and I forget, me as a customer, I was down in Miami, and so many of the restaurants had a QR code on the bottom of the check. I scanned my phone. It was just so seamless and easy, and I agree with you. It was terrific. Yeah. So it doesn't really have to be Toast, but I think the overarching is just, you should really have a point of sale system that gives you the flexibility to do things like that. And I agree with you. It's terrific.
Yeah. So you have ordering on the website. You can do the quick checkout on the check. It like syncs the menu with the website. Like whatever.
Chris is definitely an investor in Toast, Jimmy. I know he is. I saw their cap table. I know he is. He's plugging them big time right now. But, Steve is so happy.
The other thing that I'll mention, I think that's kind of cool. There's a couple ones that are doing the subscription for restaurants. So it's like, unlimited coffee every day, and it's, $15 a month, and they handle the billing. I think that's kind of cool. And the other thing that I really enjoy.
Anybody doing unlimited burgers for the day? Because I got to get Jimmy something like that. Jimmy, love unlimited burgers, Jimmy? I mean, who would? Like, Jimmy, come on. $10, as many burgers you could eat.
I would play that.
Yeah, no, that's great stuff.
Yeah, listen, this week's episode of Top of the Tech Stack was sponsored by Toast. And for other of Chris's favorite picks, you could go to brandedstrategic.com/investments, and you'll see the entire stack that Chris feels you should be using. Okay, we're going to move on to our crystal ball moment. It's a chance we give our guest the opportunity to put on their Kreskin or Miss Cleo hat and predict the future. So, Chris, how do you see restaurants and dining 2 years from now in relation to hospitality and technology?
Don't mention Toast again with the QR codes. Let's give Toast a break, huh?
Yeah. I think, and the restaurants that I see like really adaptive with technology are like, whether let's use the example of quick serve, where they have like some sort of interaction or tablet when you walk in to like place the order. So then the staff is just like focused on the back of the house of making great food. I think, and then, versions of people walking around with the iPad to like place the order. So it like processes faster versus the, pad, and they might miss something. I just see like more adaption of that technology, syncing all of it, making it the team more efficient, so you need less staff, and lets you be more competitive. So like you're not waiting for the server; you can click the iPad to, refill your iced tea or whatever it is. That's what I think would happen. But you guys are the futurists in the technology and the finance.
No, but I think you're spot on. I mean, that's what we're seeing. I mean, we're seeing that, and I agree with you. Listen, you got to be more efficient. You got to figure out ways to if servers are just going up to the table and saying, "How can I take your order?" In certain restaurants, that's just a waste of good manpower, because there's so many other things they could be doing. And like you just said, if I go to a restaurant, and some of these restaurants, I know what I want, I could just order on my phone. I don't need to engage, But I agree with you, Jimmy. What do you think?
I believe that there is given what's going on in the labor market, we have to come up with, in some cases, elegant solutions. In some cases, not even so elegant. Empower the guest, leveraging their phone, the BYOD, bring your own device. And I think we can do that. We have the technology in a way that we can allow the guests to be empowered and allow the staff to really be guest ambassadors and really allow them to focus on the enjoyment as opposed to the mundane activity that to a certain extent really does not require any longer the use of a server or human capital. So I agree.
Hey, Jimmy, can you say we have the technology again? Because you know what that reminds me of? The $6 million man, right?
Yes.
We have the technology, right? I mean, that's awesome, Jimmy.
Yes, I was thinking of
Look at you.
Steve Austin, baby. I was thinking about it.
Yes, Steve Austin.
Yes.
Astronaut, man barely alive.
All right, Chatsy. Chatsy, come on. You know you're excited.
All right,
you're excited.
Branded Quickfire. Chris, I've been dying to get to the Branded Quickfire.
The best section of the whole show. And it's Chatsy's.
Jimmy, you're just jealous because you have the crystal ball moment. It's just not that great. And the Branded Quickfire is awesome. Chris, I'm going to ask you 5 lightning round questions. We're getting to the end of this thing. You're going to go out to the beach right after. So listen, 5 questions. Don't think too hard. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
What would you say is your hidden talent? Your wife is not listening.
The first thing that comes to mind is that I like to buy and drink really good wine. I don't think that's a hidden talent, but I do enjoy that.
I think it's a talent.
I like it.
I think it's a talent.
Buying
and drinking good wine, why not? That's a talent. It's as good as any. I like it too, and I can't wait to do it with you. Where are you getting dinner from tonight?
Doya, which is a spot in Miami.
What kind of food?
If I'm honest, I don't even know.
He's like, he's looking it up on review trackers right now.
quick fire, Shaz. Quick fire.
But but come on, Jimmy. I like that Chris is getting dinner right now. He has no idea what kind of food. I have no idea. But they serve it to me. I eat it. I'm full. I leave. What's your favorite food city in the world?
Lisbon, Portugal.
Ooh. I like Lisbon. I was there. I was there a couple of years ago.
I was there. Great food.
That is a great food.
Great
city.
Wine.
When travel resumes to complete normalcy, where's the first place you're going?
South Africa.
You can do with kids or without kids. South Africa.
Yeah. And then
Safari?
Well, probably from there, like move up the continent a little bit. But yeah, it's probably going to be a few years before we can do that. But I'd love to go to Africa.
This is the big one. Are you ready? 5th question, final question. If you were to challenge Jimmy or I to a round of golf down in Miami, who would you have better odds of beating? Chris, look at my arms. Oh!
I guess it's going to have to be, I'm going to beat Jimmy is what it looks like.
Yes, you would beat Jimmy. And do you know why?
Yes.
Yeah, and I got that. Look at his long, lanky body.
I think, Chris, you chose very wisely. Golf, I'm very, very good at the 19th hole. I'm good around the turn. Everything in between.
Loves driving the cart, by the way. Very good golf cart driver. People don't know this about Jimmy.
Very good golf cart driver.
Excellent golf cart driver. Yes.
Yep. That's my secret. It's my secret hidden talent. I'm good at driving the golf cart, and I'm strong on the 19th hole. Okay, I own it. All right, Chris. We want to thank you so much for all your great insights and for joining us on the Hangout today. We appreciate your hard work. and that you and the crew at Review
50,000
Trackers,
restaurants, Jimmy. That's
I
unbelievable.
know, and I was going to say you've been delivering value. Brandon's whole thesis when it comes to tech is really very operator centric and operator driven. We like working with tech companies that are good for our industry, and we think you and the crew at Review Trackers are all of that. I mentioned at the top of the episode that we had a fantastic offer for our listeners, and I'll share it with you now. Chris is generously offering a free month of Review Trackers to any new clients that are listening today. The only thing you have to do to take advantage of this offer is email us at podcast@brandedstrategic.com, podcast@brandedstrategic.com, and we'll connect you with Chris and the team at Review Trackers and tee you up for a free month. I can only tell you that we use this tech. We've used it for a long time, and we continue to embrace what it does for our stores, our restaurants. So we use it. You do what you like, but a free month offered by Chris for being on the podcast for all our listeners. To our listeners, we want to thank you so much for tuning in. We know there are literally hundreds of thousands of podcasts out there, and the fact that you choose out to hang with us is something we don't take for granted, and we appreciate. Please join us next week as we welcome our guest, Britta Rosenheim from Better Food Ventures.
Hey, doesn't Britta make the tech wheel that we love?
She just launched the 2021 Hospitality Tech Map, as Shatsy called it, the tech wheel.
The tech wheel.
Tech wheel. But very excited that Britta, great person,
wow,
great friend of the podcast, and the whole team of Branded, and many, many more. It's going to be a great season 5. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any of our exciting guests, or better yet, invite a friend to hang out with us the next time. So until then, again, a big appreciation to Chris for joining us on the podcast, and I'll pass it to my boy Shatsy. So this is Jimmy Frischling, your finance guy, signing off and passing it to the restaurant guy.
Hey, this is Shatsy, a.k.a. the restaurant guy here at the Hospitality Hangout. Jimmy, this was great. Chris, fantastic. Love the work you do, like Jimmy said. And anybody listening out there, I know there's 4 or 5 of you that spent all week on a listener site.
50,000. 50,000?
50,000 restaurants he's got.
No, we got 50,000 listeners.
Oh, we got 50,000? We do? Oh, okay.
Big
Well,
deal.
listen, then 50,000 listeners out there, any of you who aren't using Review Trackers, honestly, it is the most easiest, seamless, painless tech to get into your restaurant. And I'm telling you, you will see payback very quickly, like Chris said. So I implore you to go check it out. Chris, thanks again.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.